Okay, we are looking at Copilot today. Copilot is a personal financial management tool, kind of like Mint, like the new Clarity. And we're looking at actually on Mobin, which is an app for screenshots. So if you are somebody in your job who needs a lot of screenshots, this is something I do recommend paying for. So we will go through the full experience. We'll see two things. One, obviously, we'll talk about what we talk about many times is onboarding, the pros and the cons of how they approach it. And we will talk about, and I will rant about the theories of personal finance and how to save and spend money. So here we go. This is basically, this is a bummer because basically this is the carousel of onboarding where you get people to click through value props. Obviously, no one's going to read this stuff. A better way to do this type of onboarding that could have an effect. Like this is, no one will remember these things. They won't read it. What you could do is for something like this screen, ask people, when do you get paid? And then they answer, say, great, we will time your bills and your income, or we will make sure that you always have enough money to pay your bills. And at that point, you're engaging people in a question that helps show them the thing that you're trying to tell them here. Okay, and so now we've got this sign up flow. Pretty standard. And you have to go to your email to verify. You have to do a passcode. Got it. Okay. And now this is something I do like, which is the notification question many times is just like, do you want to allow notifications? And they tell you why. This is really paired with a benefit. So we once worked with a company, a fintech, that was sending emails to gig workers that said, hey, you got paid. They had 80% open rates. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So why? People like to know when they get money. Normally, fintechs, and Copilot would be guilty of this too, is lead with expense tracking. And expense tracking, there is a lot of improvement we can have and would benefit folks, but it's just people don't like to look at all the money that is leaving their bank account. Back in my Quicken Online days, I was a PM at Quicken Online. We'd take people into the lab and they would cover their eyes when they saw a pie chart of their money. And so this type of leading with a benefit like gain versus loss, income is gain, expenses is loss, is actually quite compelling and powerful. And then this is a screen we'll spend a minute on, which is an empty state screen. So empty states are an opportunity. And this is obviously maybe not taking advantage of the opportunity. So if in Acorns, actually, if you're interested in this, does this pretty well, you basically want to give people a thing to do if you say zero. So if you're telling me I have zero assets, it's like, great, add some assets. If you say zero, credit cards, great, add a credit card. And they do have this ghost button, which are very tough. It's white on white, which isn't going to motivate me to click. And so the most obvious thing for me to do is just, I'm not ready to link yet, which is making me feel like I'm not ready, even if I was ready, and I would try the demo mode. So other apps go about this very differently. Stash is actually a very paternalistic app in the sign up flow. They don't let you leave. You have to enter your social security number. You have to enter your bank account. There is no skip. And empirically, not sure which one's better. I think this is a nice test to run. My intuition is that for apps like this, which have to get you to do hard things, and maybe a lot of them, you have to enter your social security number and your bank account. Like these are hard things. There's not going to be a time where you're going to come back in 2 or 3 days and have more motivation than you have today when you were signing up for this app. And so it likely is within their benefit to capture the people who do have that motivation and push them all the way through so that they have something, sunk costs, to say, okay, I did this thing. Now I'm going to come back later because I already synced my bank account and I can see things in there. So if I was betting, I would say the stash-like approach to not let me leave, not let me do a demo account is maybe going to result in higher conversion. And so now they're going through this. I'm assuming this is a demo account that they're playing with. It is nice to show folks, by the way, this type of idea, and maybe before they have kind of the full thing built out. Internal transfers, again, this is a point where you would say something like asking an actual question, so if you have a Walmart account, do you want us to tag this groceries or do you want us to tag this shopping, and having people actually engage with this idea early on so they understand the mechanisms that the app is capable of versus just telling them. This is also really nice recurring transactions. If we think about the theory, and I'll move maybe now to the theory of all financial management, is to make one-time decisions that lock yourself into good behavior. This is a general behavioral science comment, which is habits are very hard. If you should make one-time decisions. In personal financial management, more than other domains, this is much easier to do because you can default yourself to savings, basically say, okay, I'm going to, from my paycheck, put 10% into my savings account. Wonderful. You can do your retirement account and you can do your bills because you could time your bills with your income such that you don't really have to manage the terrible kind of cash flow unevenness that many people experience on a month-to-month basis. And so in general, this type of thinking about reoccurring transactions for a personal financial management app, love it. Okay. We're going to keep clicking through here. It seems like they want us to tag things, which is also, again, very interesting and helps kind of engage me. In general, would probably make this more like a hot or not sort of, this feels like a task. Like, could you make this hot or not-ish? What I mean by that is saying like, I really want to play the game of saying yes or no, right? And so this feels like some, I'm sitting down with my checkbook and you could imagine a world where people just speed through 50 transactions by clicking yes, no, and it feels fun and interesting and engaging. We'll kind of focus here on what they are leading with, which is budgeting. And Richard Mathera and Lindsay Jaraz on our team did a really lovely experiment in partnership with a very large fintech that showed, drumroll, budgeting has no effect on spend. Even if you are engaged, engagement wasn't a factor. And so the theory behind that could be pretty obvious if you know the behavioral science world, which is, okay, so information doesn't change behavior. If you tell me that I have $300 left in my budget this month, that is far from the action of me not having another glass of wine out at a bar or spending money on my friend's birthday. All of these actions are separated from the information of my budget. And so budgeting assumes that you understand your past utility and your future utility to make a decision today about what you value. So given that you've already spent $150 on your entertainment budget, is the bar in the middle of the month going to be better than the bar at the end of the month? And wow, that's a really tough decision to make real time. And usually folks make mistakes or just don't even think about it. And so budgeting in and of itself, not excited about because of this empirical evidence. The theory behind budgeting could be making you pay attention more, although we didn't see that in this study, is that when you logged in, it wasn't like because people just aren't logging in, they're not engaging with something that is not fun to do. So you would want people to engage more to have that theory of change. And by the way, if you just wanted attention, you just text me my balance every day, just like stepping on the scale, you get me to pay attention to something. That would be the mechanism versus a very complicated mathematical equation that I have to do. Now, I would say that it's not that budgeting in and of itself, so then what do you do? Do you do nothing? Absolutely not. No, of course not. There are tools, mental models of how to think about expenses. The first one is this one-time decision-making where you'll direct money into separate accounts so you don't have to think about it, don't have to make mistakes across the month. And the second one that is broadly loved in behavioral science is just rules of thumb, where you're basically saying, okay, I'm going to go out once a week to the bars. I'm not going to go out twice a week. I'm going to, and by the way, in kind of expense management, people tend to focus on the things that they can control, not the things they can't. And so that is generally a place where if you're building a consumer app, you'd focus. Obviously, one of the big things would be, can we get people to move, decrease their rent? That's a much different intervention than a budget intervention. But if you're just focusing on the discretionary income, the controllable stuff, you would basically say, pick a rule of thumb for when you take an Uber, pick a rule of thumb for how many times you spend on Amazon. So you don't always have to make the decision of, is this worth it? Because in the moment, present bias will tell us it is worth it and will discount our future selves. So, did I just pass something? Okay, just passed this one. So this is where we'll end. This is the payment screen. And I'm definitely not opposed to any kind of app asking me for money. Good job. This is a theory of value and I should pay you. So I don't think that we deserve apps for free. And in fact, many times, if you pay for something you value more, you'll use it more. So a theory of change for any kind of these habit or behavior change apps is to get me to pay for it, because then I may have some sunk costs and may think, and we've heard that anecdotally from companies. That said, this idea of surprising me at the end of a flow that is going to cost me money feels rude. So I would imagine this is the biggest drop-off spot for them. I would also imagine if they tested, and I've talked to some game designer folks that have suggested that if you tell people the price of the gem, if you have like some game and there's a gem there and you just surprise them with the price, they're not going to buy the gem because they don't value the gem yet. But if you tell them the price of the gem over time, they will then buy the gem. And so it's possible that actually this whole scene is going to make people bounce more because they're surprised about the whole thing. Of course, if people have already synced their bank account, then maybe they have some sunk costs. They'll say, great, I'll go forward. And of course, then they'll forget to cancel. So in general, not super excited about how they've presented this. Doesn't feel as transparent as you would like. And so of course, what a sad screen to end on, which is just what everyone will see, which is you're over budget. And who is going to log into app that will always tell them bad news? So no surprise that fintech has low engagement rates. You're just telling people bad news. No one wants to hear that. What a bummer. But on that note, we will, I'll go after this. I'm going to go out and just spend some money, but not budget it.